What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about and dive deep into the entry point on my NVIDIA call options today. There was a very specific reason as to why I entered NVIDIA when I did. It wasn't so much to do with the actual NVIDIA chart, which it did have part of a reason, but there was another thing that was extremely important into my decision-making to enter NVIDIA when I did. And this is the NASDAQ futures, the overall market, the QQQ. Right? The major market levels, this had a lot to do with why I entered NVIDIA when I did today. Now, I know some people watch this. I don't think many or all traders are very much in tune with trading based off of the overall market levels and how overall market levels can influence individual equities. So if we're trading an individual equity, we need to be in tune with where the overall market levels are. And today, the NASDAQ demand that I was watching was one of the largest factors as to why I took my NVIDIA entry. Not so much a trick or a secret, but a little bit of a tip for you guys, something to be watching and to continue to watch when you take your entry points. Before you take your entry, what's the NASDAQ doing? What's the S&P? Where are they trading? Are we at a key hold level? Are we at a rejection level, right? We need to know this information. And in today's video, I have a really good example of using that information, using that NASDAQ demand level to formulate an entry on NVIDIA. Of course, I have this entire trade recorded live, so make sure to stay tuned to the end of today's video to watch how we did it live in the Discord community. If you guys enjoyed today's video after watching, press that like button, subscribe as always. Let's jump into the charts. So guys, let's go ahead and start this video off first on the NVIDIA chart, right? Get an idea of what we were watching on NVIDIA, and then we will hop over to the NASDAQ chart, and I'll show you why this was so important today. So coming into the day, we knew there was some demands below on NVIDIA, right? We knew there was very clearly 118, and then there was this little low over here around 117.40. This was pretty much an entire demand zone that I was sort of watching for a pullback long. If you guys know, I'm sure you do, but pullback longs have been fantastic opportunities on NVIDIA. When NVIDIA pulls back to a previous hold level, there's always a reason to be watching for that pullback long opportunity. So coming into today, we were looking to see, all right, we have a very clear previous demand low at this 118, which held very well on Friday of last week. So let's first of all watch that, right? If we come back down into that 118, do we try to hold it? And if we do, can we find a long entry, right? Key levels, demand levels, playing off the levels, trusting the levels, right? This is what we do. So we knew coming into today that 118 was definitely a level to watch. Now, if we go over a little bit to the left, we can see back here, this is back in Wednesday of last week. You can see that little double bottom here around that 117.40. Right, and we can see that today we came close to that 117.40 as well and saw a very aggressive hold of that level. So if we drop down to the 5-minute chart and we can look at just this morning's price action, you can see NVIDIA pretty much opened the day, drove lower right into our 118 and 117.40 area and started to get some hold to it, right? So we were interested in potentially longing that name off this demand for that pop back to the upside. Pretty textbook trade, right? Just focusing on the levels that have previously held. If we pull back to them, can we hold it again, right? Can history repeat itself? That is playing probabilities. And on NVIDIA, those probabilities have seemingly been very high. And we have to continue to ride that and find those entry points, right? So today, we pulled back to our 118, our 117.40, the previous hold levels on the charts. If we go to the 15-minute, we can see previous hold level on Friday, hold level there on Thursday, and a nice hold there on Wednesday. This whole zone keeping NVIDIA higher, and that is where we pulled back to today and found our long entry. Now, there was something extremely important at this moment, right, as you pulled back to get an idea if it would work, right, to get confirmation that it will actually work again, and that is confirming whether the NASDAQ is strong, right? The tech sector. Is it strong? Is tech holding up? Are we seeing tech maintain demand? And if so, right, if that NASDAQ is maintaining demand, we can sort of confirm that, okay, we have a hold on the NASDAQ. We're starting to see a hold on NVIDIA. This could be a nice confluence. The confluence here is that the NASDAQ is holding and NVIDIA is holding both at key demand levels. We can use both of that information to formulate an entry. So if I go to the NASDAQ futures, we can see, right, coming into today, we had this zone, this 18,980 to 18,960, which was a previous hold level back here, right? This is back on Wednesday of last week. This was on Friday of last week. We had a very aggressive hold out of this level. So we had a hold here Wednesday. We had a hold here Friday. And if I go out even further, you can see that this is not just a short-term level, right? I can go ahead and drag this green zone over to the left. And this was a previous major high back here, right? So we had previous major highs where the NASDAQ has been maintaining above over the last week and a half, right? We've had a very clean hold above that 18,980, which was this previous high. And if we go into that 15-minute chart, we can see today there is no shortage of a hold at that level again. So we came into the day, we saw a pre-market, we'll actually just go into the short term here, right? We saw a pre-market hold come in here around 5 a.m. this morning. We saw a hold of this level. And at the market open, we were trading down at this level again, right? So in terms of risk reward, we know, hey, NVIDIA or the NASDAQ's at a major demand. We've held it pre-market. We're coming back into it again. Let's see if this can hold again for an upside move. And so we'll go down to the 2-minute chart and go into where we really were watching this on the intraday. And we saw all morning, this morning, the NASDAQ popped off of it, pulled back, continued and continued and continued and continued to just maintain above our demand zone. And as I was watching this hold, I was telling the group, as long as this NASDAQ can maintain above this green demand below, I'm going to trust that it's going to hold that Friday low. I'm going to trust that it's going to hold that previous major demand, right? We saw that previous major demand come in here and again in the pre-market, and we're going to trust it again, right? Until that key level fails us, we have to continue to trust it. So I saw this NASDAQ holding that key level at the same exact time that NVIDIA was coming down into our major demands, our 118 and 117.40, right? So at the exact time the NASDAQ was maintaining that level, right? Just think about the NASDAQ chart. We were maintaining that level, and NVIDIA was pulling back and attempting to hold our key 118. So I had that confidence that I could trade NVIDIA using that NASDAQ level. And if the NASDAQ does hold that level we just talked about, right? If the NASDAQ does end up holding that key level, let me go ahead and zoom out here. If the NASDAQ does end up holding that key level, then NVIDIA should move higher. That is how you're setting up this trade. If the NASDAQ is holding above key demand and attempting to push higher, NVIDIA should follow it, right? It's the tech sector. NVIDIA is going to follow that NASDAQ. And if the NASDAQ's strong, NVIDIA should be as well. So we're setting up that trade according to what we're seeing on the NASDAQ futures, or let's say the QQQ, right? And we're looking for that upside continuation. It's the same here with the QQQ. All right, let's go to the QQQ. And let's look at the level that was holding this morning on the QQQ. So right here on the 15-minute chart on the Qs, we saw that previous all-time high level, that 461.50 level, which held in the pre-market. And we can see this morning, look at that hold that came in again. The exact same level, our 461.50, which, again, is our previous all-time high right here, right? Look at this. Previous all-time high, 461.50. Held on Friday, held pre-market today, and held at market open today as well. So I'm saying to myself, hey, Qs are holding that previous all-time high again. It held pre-market. It's holding right now. I can look for a good risk-reward long on the Qs. I can either trade the Qs, right? You can just trade the Qs there, or, right, you can try to look at an individual stock or equity that you think will follow that. And for me, I thought there was some great opportunity to long NVIDIA off that QQQ NQ level, as well as that NVIDIA demand, right? So that is why I formulated that entry point. Now, one thing that was very clear today, if we go to the 2-minute chart, we got back above 118, right here. We had 118. We had a little bit of a slip below, popped back above it, and look at these wicks right here. 1, 2, 3, and after pulling back here, 4, maintaining that 118 level, maintaining that demand while the NASDAQ continued to hold the previous demand lows. Making sure that we're in tune with that QQQ, that NASDAQ level, making sure we understand what the overall market is doing when we're setting up these entries on individual equities. This was extremely key today. It was a major thing to be paying attention to. And this is how we found pretty much a low of day entry on NVIDIA today, trusting that the NASDAQ and QQQ level would help or influence the market higher alongside NVIDIA at that major demand. So I hope you sort of get an idea of the mindset that I was going through when wanting to enter NVIDIA long. I knew I had that NASDAQ QQQ behind my back. I knew I had that demand below. I knew that if the market was going to be influenced higher off this level, I could find some long entries on individual equities that I believe will follow that market. So that is why we took that NVIDIA today. I have this entire trade recorded live. I'm going to go ahead and show it to you guys right now. You can watch where we entered it, where we scaled out of it. I don't have the entire trade because I am still holding some overnight, up about 70%. So I am still holding some runners, but we did our job of scaling out as we got the move and letting some runners ride. I hope you understand sort of the process and the idea behind my entry point on NVIDIA today. I hope this video helps you. If it does, make sure to press that like button below. Subscribe to the channel for more trading videos. And of course, stay tuned for the live trading video that you're about to watch. Thank you guys once again, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace. NASDAQ is holding the previous, so the QQQ right now is holding the previous all-time high. Look at that 461.50 hold on QQQ. The problem with me right here is I will not short into that demand level on the Qs right here. It just doesn't make sense. So there's very possible little pop off this 461.50 on the Qs, and I do not want to short into. Okay, NASDAQ. Okay, hold on here. All right, I'm attempting the long NVIDIA here. I'm longing NVIDIA 118 calls. I'm looking at the NASDAQ maintaining a very important demand. And I am very interested in this to pop here. I am long NVIDIA 118 calls here with the idea that the NASDAQ maintains this demand and NVIDIA reclaims 118 and starts to push higher. And the main reason for the entry point where it was has a lot to do with the NASDAQ at that 18,980. And that QQQ previous all-time high at 461.50. Guys, the Kava stop loss is 84. Okay? I'm in it until 84, guys. Any of you guys that 84 is the stop, I have not even looked at it. It's still above 84. I'm not touching it. It's how I trade. It stops me out, it stops me out. Take a loss, move on. Very nice hold on the NASDAQ there. Very nice hold on NVIDIA there. That was a very clean pullback long on the NASDAQ to the 461.50 on the Qs. Really clean there. Really clean there. I like that a lot. Let's see if this can actually move. Let's see. Would like to see it try to actually move, but that is a nice spot. It is a nice spot. That 461.50, that 18,980. Would like to see NVIDIA just sort of maintain over 118 here. That would be very nice. Yeah, HIMS is coming up pretty nice. HIMS got a little HIM candle there, huh? Alright, so I'm going to pretty much relax in NVIDIA for now, guys. I'm just going to be watching this thing. Got the 118s. They're up 6% at the current moment. I want to see this sort of base around this 118 and willing to give it 115. Definitely willing to try to see if a pullback opportunity arises somewhere on NVIDIA today. We shall see. I would like this 118. Ideally, I'd like 118 to hold. Ideally. That would be ideal. But I'd like a strong reclaim of that channel low here. You could look for another long entry on a 118 hold here on NVIDIA. It's very possible. I like that 118 hold on NVIDIA right there. Price target's probably the 122 highs to scalp some off, and then I wouldn't be opposed to holding some. I would not be shocked to see, maybe NVIDIA just maintain itself, but we'll see. 118, I really don't like that fail right there. It's not great. It looks a little bit heavy. I like my entry point, but possibly just not enough market continuation today. Let's see how strong that 118 wants to hold. Kava possibly stopping me out already. Let's see, 84. Might give it down to the 20 SMA though. What is that, 83? I don't want to sell Kava if it's still above the 20 SMA. If that's the idea of the trade. I like how NVIDIA's trying to hold that 118, but man, I would like a little bit of freedom here. Feels like it needs a pop. Need the NASDAQ to do something, but really not much out there. Okay, up 13% on NVIDIA. Nice. Contracts move pretty good. I mean, 15% move there on a Friday expiration. Feels about right. So here's a problem that I can feel creeping in already. I sort of want to just hold NVIDIA, sort of mindlessly, unless 115 breaks, but it's probably a problem. It's probably the wrong way to think of it right now. Maybe I just look to scalp off profits, but part of me wants to see. I mean, you don't want to give up on NVIDIA too early. You want to be able to see this out a little bit. Try to trust what it's been doing, right? Pull back longs. Maybe, we'll do our job. If we get up a nice 50%, maybe we'll take some off. But I'm not going to take any off yet, up 11%. I'm going to maintain for now. TSM's also in the background doing very good for me, so I'm very happy about that. So that's keeping me content. I think as long as the NASDAQ is chilling above this 18,980, I'm going to believe in the upside, the long side trade here. As long as we're sitting above that demand, I'm going to believe in the long side trade. Guys, we have to trade with a plan, okay? We know where our stop loss is, and we stay in the trade until it stops us out. You have to trade that way. Like Kava, the questions start flowing. Oh my God. What's going on with Kava? Holy shit. Kava's going down. Okay? It's above your stop. Clear your mind. Pay attention. Watch the level. Use the level as your stop loss, and maintain until maintain the trade until it proves you wrong. Okay? This is how we have to trade. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but we cannot make emotional decisions after entering a trade with a plan. Right? We make a plan, we enter a trade, and then we start to change that plan because of emotional decisions. Can't do it. Right? Can't do it. NVIDIA up 20%, guys. Very nice. Possibly a good spot to scale some off NVIDIA, guys, at VWAP here. This is possibly where I should actually take some off. We'll see if she can hold the 118 here on a pullback. Could be a nice little pullback long on NVIDIA at 118, guys. Watch 118 to defend itself here again for maybe another entry. A little sneaky pullback entry there at 118. That's going to be an interesting watch, guys. That could be a second entry long right there. Stop under 118. It's a decent risk reward there. That you need the NASDAQ to hold the lows, though. You're going to need the NASDAQ to bounce off this same level. This 18,980. And just look at that. That's a beautiful one. Wow. Yeah, that's a beauty. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. letting that baby run. Really nice entry on NVIDIA, guys. We have the low of day on NVIDIA. I would look for NVIDIA to hold VWAP here for another entry point, potentially. 119.33. NVIDIA's up 30%. I might actually look to take a little bit more off NVIDIA here. Just a tad off. Take a little bit off NVIDIA at 30%. Nice and chill. Nice and relaxed. Focused on that NASDAQ demand, holding strong. That 18,980, that QQQ, previous all-time high, 461.50. You are coming into the channel high supply here, though, right? So let's be aware of that. Okay. So you are approaching a potential rejection spot on the QQQ.